Are we? Okay. You ready to go, Mike?
Yep.
You ready, Laura?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll call this meeting of Monday, December 7th, regular commissioners meeting to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good morning, everybody. Hope you're all enjoying this nice weather. I'm sure that we all know that it might not last forever, right? We will start this morning's meeting with public comment on any subject not on the agenda and that the commission has jurisdiction over. Is there any public comment?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Tim Ravendall, Conservative News from Montana. Understanding in history here, we have a policy adoption at the beginning of each new year. And I just wanted to make sure that I brought up the point that as you get ready to plan for that policy, I would really hope that we have an opportunity to see what the policy is and be able to weigh in on that policy prior to its adoption. Okay, and that's my personal request as a representative of Conservative News from Montana. On another note, I would like to ask the Commission if there has been a proposal coming out of MACO on correcting some of the downfalls to make it easier for you guys under Title II of the MCA as far as open meetings, because that's been a hassle for a long time. And we've been needing to get that law corrected to not only make sure that it protects you guys to get your job done, but also protects the public to be able to have that right to know and the right to participate. So with that, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, thank you for your time this morning, and we'll move forward.
All right, thank you, Tim. Shirley.
Shirley Wilson, I would like for all of us to remember that today is December 7th, it's Pearl Harbor Day, and remember our military and our warriors that ensured the freedom that we still have. Thank you.
You, Shirley.
Thank you, Shirley. I missed that.
Thank you, Shirley.
All right, any more public comment? Okay. With that, we'll move on to, we have some mail. Letter from the DEQ that is providing a water discharge permit to the Sydney Sugars Company in Sydney, Montana. Letter from the Brazilian, it's an affidavit that showing that we did put the RFQ, the request for qualifications for the silo management services in Brazilian paper. And I do have payroll claims, or payroll in the amount of $204,075.38.
I'll make a motion to approve the payroll claim and set them out.
Okay, I will second. Motion's made and seconded to pay payroll in the amount of $204,075.38. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to our first order of business. Nicole Brown and Joe Nelson, boundary relocations.
Good morning.
Good morning, Nicole.
Do each of you have your copy of this,
We
or do
do.
you need this? Okay. I have the affidavit here.
Okay,
See that? And I will need signatures if you approve the use of this exemption. So this is a certificate of survey request for a boundary relocation. This is for Joe Nelson and Steve McCullough. Just east of town. This has gone through the COS review committee. I believe all questions have been answered. If you have further questions, the surveyor is here
okay.
to answer those as well.
No,
And
I
I don't
guess
know if
I don't really have any questions. My only comment is, though, on the request for exemption review, it just states fulfilling obligations, and I think in the future we need to have more information than that.
Okay.
And I guess maybe for the record, I would like you to tell us what.
Absolutely,
What's
and
going
you're correct. That was brought up through the COS review committee. That was a question that arose. Fulfilling obligations is very vague as far as a reason. So I reached out to the surveyor, and the reason for the fulfilling obligations, when Mr. Nelson purchased this property from Mr. McCullough was given first right of option to repurchase should Mr. Nelson ever choose to sell. So this is fulfilling his obligation of offering the first right of purchase for that portion of the boundary relocation between the two properties.
Okay. I guess my question is, can we write that on here so that somebody down the road knows exactly what happened, other than when they read this document, that's all it says?
Certainly. I would prefer it to come from either the surveyor or Mr. Nelson.
Okay.
I can make that request, though.
I would like that to.
Okay.
I'd like that to be there, please.
Okay. Certainly.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
I don't have anything else.
Laura, do you have anything?
No.
Okay.
And with that being said, it might be preferential for you to wait to sign this. So if you choose to make the motion, but I would ask that you wait to sign the affidavit until that is written on there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's another one here that I see as well that I know that they're working on.
Yes. So
And-
I will make sure that that's clear that.
If that's clear as well. Okay. So we'll just wait until that's done, or would you want to, you feel comfortable moving ahead with,
I feel comfortable and confident moving ahead if you
Okay.
choose to make the motion to approve the use of this exemption today,
Okay,
but just not sign the affidavit until that
Okay.
wording can be added.
okay, all right, very good.
Mr. Chairman, this is Laura. As a commissioner, I'm not comfortable not knowing what we're agreeing to. So I would like to wait on the motion until we have the affidavit with the correct language on it so that we know what we're signing on to.
Okay. Bernadette?
Would it be prudent if I went ahead and updated that now so that it could move forward? I know, I don't know, because of tax purposes, they're trying to get this done as soon as possible before year end and all. If it's prudent, I could add that there now so that it isn't a problem.
And if you want
Yeah.
to table this and move ahead
Yeah.
to Public Works,
Okay. Yeah, let's do that.
I would be
Yep.
good with that.
Yep.
okay, let's
Okay.
do that then.
Very good, yes. Thanks, Bernadette.
You bet.
Mr. Chairman, Tim with Conservative News from Montana. Where is this property that's being, property line being relocated?
Out by the airport.
Out by the airport?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Those fields there, yeah. All right. Well, I guess we will, while they're doing that, we'll move forward to our solid waste discussion with Josh Obert. And Dwayne Holm requested this to be on the agenda. And the thing that I do want to state before we start this discussion is that I think we're all aware there was an incident at the Cedar Street, and we will not discuss that today because this is an ongoing case. It still needs to go before the court, and we need to protect the rights of everyone involved. So all I ask is you keep your comments respectful. Comments will be addressed to the chair and not other individuals. With that, we'll proceed. Who wants to go first? Dwayne, you had some comments you wanted to make?
Yeah, I'd like to know where all of this money is. That's what I asked about the other day, where everything was going and why he was still working.
Who?
Nels,
I can't discuss this. I just stated we cannot discuss this
I
case.
couldn't hear you.
Okay, we're not discussing anything that happened over at Cedar Street because the case has to still go before the court.
Well, that just screws everything up.
Well, I'm
Because
sorry.
you decided you didn't want to hear it.
No,
Yeah, that's right.
Sir, my name's Josh Obert. I'm the Public Works Supervisor. The reason why we can't talk is because he hasn't even had a chance to meet in front of the magistrate to make a plea for it. So if we were to discuss anything, it's part of an ongoing open court case. So everybody is afforded the right to be innocent until proven guilty and have their day in court. He hasn't had his day in court. Once the trial is over, I will more than happily discuss and talk about it anytime you want. And for everybody involved, if you guys do have specific questions or comments about solid waste, just like Mr. Burns the other day had contacted me, had some questions. He brought it up in a commission meeting. I set an appointment up with him, let him come into the office. We had a very long and extensive talk to where I could talk specifically to budget-related items, and if there's questions on where money went, I dedicated about a little over 3 hours to be able to sit down and talk through everything with him. So if you would like in the future to be able to sit down, I'm more than willing to do that.
I would like to.
Yep, not a problem at all,
But
sir.
what I got a question about is why in Winston, Toston, Radersburg, all of these other dump sites have got a free pile. Now,
I'll
this
explain.
guy screwed it up big time.
I'll explain to that. Once again, I can't assign fault to anybody right now because he's innocent until proven guilty until his day in court. When I talked to my solid waste attendants, they were supposed to be able to pull down, and I didn't go on the weekend because I'm not paid or on call on the weekend. I will go out this morning and ensure that all the rest of them are down, and we're tabling the ability to have the free pile until we can meet with the board and we can discuss the options from there. So this is it's not, we're getting rid of them, we just need to figure out how we're going to proceed forward from them. So when I took over, there was no rules, there was no SOP, there was no anything to follow. It was at the discretion of the attendant, and it shouldn't be at the discretion of attendant. We're setting up our employees for failure if we have the person at the bottom end of the ranking structure having to make the rules. So that's
Right.
something that's my failure. I didn't address it when I took over because honestly, I can't address all problems right on day one. So until we can meet and we can get a clear path forward and we can get it approved by the board and the commission on how we're going to handle this forward, we had to temporarily remove that service. So that's tabled for now until we get a clear, concise path forward that doesn't put our constituents and our canister employees in a potentially compromising situation.
Well, the reason that I'm questioning this is because there's a lot of stuff that people get rid of that's set up there that other people can use.
I wholeheartedly
That are
agree.
using. And it doesn't cost us any money for them to haul it to Helena that way, for solid waste to have to haul it.
I agree, sir.
It saves the county a bunch of money.
I wholly agree, but it also needs to be structured to prevent a potential incident like what happened. And that's where, when I
See-
took over, there wasn't any structure. And I know in the past that we had done this for years and years and years, but unfortunately in the world we live in now, it takes one incident to potentially cause a huge negative outcome. So what I'm trying to do is restructure things to where we have some sort of platform to protect both our citizens and our employees.
That's what I want to see as a platform.
Yep. And once again, when I'm able to meet with the solid waste board and meet with the commissioners and we plan our path forward, I will more than happily come to the commission meeting again and present our new path forward.
Well, we'd like to meet with you first on that.
I would gladly accept that. Do you have my office number and we can set up a
No.
time? I will make sure before we leave that you have my contact information and we can set up a time where you can come in and sit down and we can discuss whatever portions of that department that you'd like.
Okay? Thank you.
Not a problem,
Alright.
sir.
Thank you, Dwayne. Thank you, Josh. Is there anything else?
Is there any other comments, questions, concerns?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, just a real quick clarification. Since we kind of did this restructure on the solid waste department in Broadwater County, certainly the financial side of things has been a very big challenge with the enterprise fund. And there's a lot of people that we hear from the media side of increased cost with potentially an assumption of less service. And so what I guess my question is the status of the debt that was with that department continually correcting itself as well? And again, I don't really want to get into a lot of the details on that, but it's just where we're at on going forward. And then if our solid waste supervisor boss would let everybody know when that solid waste board meeting is, that's going to be discussion on this matter prior coming to the commission, that would be very helpful for us to help you get that information out. Thank
All
you.
right, very good. Sounds good. Yeah, I'll go ahead and let Josh speak to
No
that.
problem. And our solid waste board meetings are typically the fourth Thursday of every month at 7 p.m. So for anybody that would like to come, it's a great platform to be able to speak with your board members and to be able to hear everything out. We were here in this room, yes. We were profitable when I started in June, it was kind of a great time for me to start because I got to take an objective, clear look at how that ran for a full fiscal year right at the very beginning. So it was profitable. It wasn't as profitable as what was hoped because there was increased costs. So part of what I've been doing is trying to figure out how we can reduce our spend and increase our revenue. One of the things that we're very blessed with is Great West Engineering is our new on-call engineering firm, and they're amazing grant writers. So I reached out to them. They came down and we discussed several of the projects that we have here. When I took over it would be the east wing wall, retaining wall at Cedar Street, has been leaning and pushing for a long time. They had recommended, or the transfer station needed to be redone a long time ago, which is typical for transfer stations. So they're going to be conducting a PR, professional engineering review, in the springtime, and they're very confident that we'll be able to get a TSEP grant, which is grant money, and it wouldn't come out of our budget for spend. One of the other things we've done is we had a very large recyclable metal pile, and we were able to get a great rate on that, and we were able to generate almost $40,000 in revenue there that we can look to upgrade some of our services without coming to the taxpayer and needing more. So one of the things that I've talked to the commission about 2 weeks ago, our hook truck, which we only have one, the turbo broke down on our hook truck. So that kind of left us in a bind, but we've been developing a plan on how we could in-house at a very reasonable price, use some of this money that we had from the salvage to be able to get us another hook truck. So what the commission and I have talked on, and we've talked to the board about it, is we have a dump truck that the road crew had tipped over years ago. It's been sitting there for about $5,000 to $7,000. We can straighten the frame, we can remove the box, we can look to put a hook assembly on that, to where in-house we have our own backup, where we're not reliant on a third party and a rental rate to be able to operate of our own accord. And things like that end up destroying a budget in a quick hurry. It was $250 a day to rent a hook truck, a replacement. This we'd be able to do in-house. It would give us a second truck. We have 2 CDL operators. When we have downtime, the second CDL operator would be able to use this additional hook truck for rental cans that we offer to the public, which increases on the revenue side. So if I looked all across the U.S., and $40,000 to $60,000 is what it costs for a used hook truck, and who knows how gently it was used or how well it was maintained. This is something that would be it would be a fairly easy in-house solution to a problem of wore-out machinery. It would allow us to maintain our vehicle, our one truck that we do have, more frequently, and while still not being able to detract from our services. I've also talked to Great West Engineering about the probability he listed several grants that we might be able to get, and depending on their ability to get grants, we may be able to look at remote gates with a pin pad entry to be able to expand service at least at Cedar Street. But because we have Great West Engineering and their grant writing ability now, we have options that we didn't have before. So our previous contract, Great West Engineering was able to, I think in their packet it was almost a $250 million, $248 million that they've been able to pull through federal grants for their clients. So these guys are very, very good at what they do at seeking federal and state funding to be able to help us out. And with that, it does usually come with a 75-25 split. But if we manage our business right, we shouldn't have to reach out to our constituents to ask for more. Any other questions?
One follow-up?
Yep.
Just a follow-up question on I'll call it the precious metals that are recycled. Is the precious metal recycling under a contract with, for example, Pacific on a set rate for an annual, or is it adjustable as market prices change?
Okay. It is adjustable as market prices changed. We reached out to 3 different contractors for recyclable metals, and we were able to get $80 a ton, which was by far more than what we had anticipated. So we did substantially better, and they had fixed in their bid price the rate for free on disposal, which is usually an additional charge against us in excess to the normal. So we did very well on pulling in recyclable metal costs this year, whereas if we had a fixed rate, it helps you in the long term when market's down, but it doesn't help you take advantage of things when the market's up. So I believe reaching out for bids and using a little bit of competitive nature between markets or between contractors is the way to go.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Anything, Helen, online? No. Anybody else? All right, thank you, Josh. Nicole, we'll go back.
So I'm going to read this aloud for the record
Okay.
before I give it back to you. So under the request for exemption review, and I'm sorry, circling back to the Nelson boundary location. Part 3, basis for exemption request. It's been added, a surveyor's note. This obligation is to fulfill obligation of first right of purchase to the adjoining landowner. And it was signed by Bernadette, surveyor.
Okay. All right, are you guys okay with that addition?
I'm good with it.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Bernadette. Okay,
I will make the motion to approve the boundary location for Joe Nelson and Steve McCall.
Second.
all right, motion's been made and seconded to approve the boundary relocation for Joe Nelson and the adjoining property for Steve McCullough. Was there any public discussion? Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 The motion carries. Laura, do you want to sign this document?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, I will put it on our table there for your signature when you come in.
So you're just going to hang on to it?
I'll just hang on to it then,
Okay.
and then we'll get it signed, and then we'll we'll give it back. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I think that is all we had on our agenda. Is there anything else? All right.
I do.
Oh, okay, Laura?
Daryl, I have something.
Yep.
I wanted to talk about board membership. So I'm just going to pick one, and that's RMDC, Rocky Mountain Development Council. I don't know how many people know how much they do for our community, but it is immense. Senior services, senior transportation, Meals on Wheels, Head Start, affordable housing. That's just to name a few. So Mike Delger, Commissioner Mike Delger, has sat on that board for many years, I think from the first day really that you started as a commissioner. Prior to him, Nick Corthall served on that board, and prior to him, Elaine Gravely did. So Broadwater County's had a very strong presence and partnership with Rocky Mountain Development Council. The vast majority of their money, as I understand it, comes from the feds. But Broadwater County does provide roughly, off the top of my head again, 3.5 mil, which is roughly $70,000 to $80,000 a year of taxpayer money. But when you think about it, all the money is taxpayer money. Whether it comes from the feds, whether it comes from property taxes, whether it comes from income taxes, it is still the taxpayers, the citizens' money. So Rocky Mountain Development Council, as well as a number of our partners, require that membership on that board be commissioners. And I understand that there is a Lewis and Clark County commissioner and a Jefferson County commissioner on that board. And the reason that commissioners are on that board is to supervise or have oversight over how the money, that is the citizens' money, is spent for services. or for personnel, or for administration, what have you. Many commissioners, there's a very strong adherence to the public process, policies, laws. Many commissioners bring that standard to the local government level. Many have brought practices by those regional or state boards to their local commissions and said, hey, for greater oversight, we should do this. Many of our policies are what they are because of that, bringing some of those best practices to Broadwater County. So my questions stem from that. I recently saw an ad on from the BCDC email listserv that goes to vastly more people than any other source that we have in the county. And it was an advertisement for the trust board for a new secretary. What I would like to know is the public process. It wasn't part of a commission meeting. There's no RFP. It reads more like an employee ad, although it does state it will be a contract employee. It doesn't follow the personnel policy handbook, and it doesn't follow our policies. My second question to the open process is also with the trust board. And we just had a meeting last week down at the silos, and it was a very good meeting. But when we worked with the trust board to enact a launch fee, our letter and verbal discussions that are all on record was that that launch fee was going to be on the honor system and not mandatory but voluntary. Somewhere that got changed, but not with the full commission and not through a public process. There is a clause that says Broadwater, on the signage, says Broadwater County through Montana Code Annotated has authority to enforce the collection of fees, as well as BOR has authority through their enforcement codes. And it says that it is mandatory that people must pay those fees. Now, that argument can certainly be made. However, it was not made in a public meeting, and it was not made in full view of the public. It was not part of an agenda. So I think those two things both need to be put on an agenda so that we can decide as a commission, adhering to open meeting laws and rights of the public to participate, on how to move forward with both of those. If it was done, if the decisions were made, I'd like you to tell me when.
I guess I don't know of anything that, is there some documentation out there that says that these launch fees are mandatory? I guess I've never seen anything if it does.
Well, I think that decision was made at the trust board, that when they first put it in, it would be voluntary for this year, and then after the beginning of next year, it would be a mandatory fee.
Okay. That might be.
That decision cannot be made at a trust board meeting because the trust board is an advisory board to the commission. So any proposal that the trust board has to come before the commission. I do not recall that being the case. So if you guys do have some documentation as to that, I'd like it. I'd also like the minutes from that trust board meeting. And I think we should put it on the agenda so that if that is the way we are going to move forward, that it follows our policies, open meeting laws, and the public's right to participate. And the same with the secretary issue. That is due today at 5 o'clock. Again, the trust board has no authority as an advisory board to be hiring or contracting with anyone. That is a commission decision. And that needs to be, the whole process needs to come before the commission. And certainly, there needs to be a public process on how those applications will be vetted, will be judged, how the decision will be made. Is it a point system? What weighs most heavily? What is the criteria? We have all that when it comes to hiring personnel. There's been nothing in a public meeting about that. It needs to be added to the agenda, and then we need to follow that process publicly.
Okay.
All right, so if you guys have anything else to offer on that?
I don't.
I don't have anything else.
Okay. My other issue then goes to the agenda. There's 3 bullet points in the middle of the agenda, and the first one says, seating is limited and attendance is limited to those with an agenda item or public comment. Attendees must wear masks and socially distance with 6 feet spacing at least. I witnessed none of this happen in today's meeting. My questions are, well, first of all, as commissioners, the 3 of us are responsible for the health, safety, and well-being of not only all our citizens, but also of our staff. We have businesses who have had a very difficult time with the mask mandate. Those businesses can look to the commission and notice that we, the commission, 2 of whom sit on the Board of Health, who's mandated these under the governor's directive, are not requiring that that standard or that requirement be met. If a business is having a hard time with it, shouldn't they be looking to the leaders of the county, the commission, to be setting an example? We don't do it. Should they have to do it? With that, Mr. Holm came to the podium and was within maybe 3 feet. I think that's a bit of an exaggeration from our Public Works Director.
Hey, Laura.
And he was not
Laura,
wearing a mask.
let me
No, I'm
interrupt
going to
you.
make my second
No,
point. And then you
no,
can-
hold on.
And
Dwayne is on oxygen and he's not required to wear a mask. Okay. So let's get that
Okay,
point. Let's get that
that's-
point straight right now.
Daryl, don't lose your temper. He was still within 3 feet of our Public Works Supervisor. The second requirement under that bullet point is that 6 feet of spacing at least is required. That should have been adhered to when one person was not able to wear a mask. And my second point is that Tim Ravendall is not wearing a mask either. I don't see him wearing an oxygen. If there is a reason for Dwayne or Tim not to be wearing a mask, as a commissioner, I should be aware of that just as you guys are. If there isn't such
Talk to the county
a
attorney.
restriction, then you guys need to be, and you as chair, Daryl, need to be upholding the standards that we set as a commission that came from the governor, and that is that attendees must wear masks and socially distance with 6 feet spacing at least.
Josh over at Public Works. I'm a department head supervisor. I was aware of the requirements from the governor. I apologize for my inability or for my oversight. I came up to the podium when Dwayne was here. I was closer than 3 feet. That's on me. As a department head, that falls on me to follow the adherence of the agenda. So I apologize for that, and I will work more diligently in the future to keep my 6 foot separation.
Thanks,
Laura,
Josh.
talk to the county commissioner, or county attorney about the oxygen.
Okay. Anything else, Laura?
No, but I would like a response to both my concerns. I understand the other one will be on the agenda. That's fine. I would like a response.
I don't have one. Do you have one?
No.
Mr. Chairman, I want to be point blank. Tim Ravendall citizen of Broadwater County. The rights of the citizens in a public building and under the open meeting laws took us the last 12 years to get the commissioner that's raising questions now to really recognize that. And I applaud her for actually recognizing that. But yet, here we are again with a personal attack because of whatever reason. It's uncalled for, it's unethical, and it loses the integrity of this office. And I apologize on behalf of everyone that's watching or listening to this, because it is that way. Let's go to the ADA, let's go to the actual laws in Montana if we're going to talk about masks and policies. Policy has never, and I will repeat, never trumped law. And it never will until this goes to the legislature and or gets the process to afford law. We will continue exercising our freedom and our liberty here in this great country. And I will personally never back down from that.
All right, anybody else? You have anything, Mike?
No.
You have anything more, Laura?
No, I would just like to see you maintain these meetings equitably across the board. Policy applies to all equitably. What you do for one, you do for all. What you require of one, you require for all. Unless, of course, there are extenuating circumstances like the need for oxygen.
Okay.
I'd like this on the move.
Okay.
Before you adjourn,
Yes.
I'm so
Nicole.
sorry. If I may, I misunderstood which boundary location Mr. Nelson was wanting to move forward, and I misinformed you on the McCullough Nelson boundary location. It's actually the Elliott Nelson boundary location that they want to move forward on.
Okay.
So I know you received these at the same time. And I'm going to read this also because this has been added, this exemption. Same verbiage, but I'm just going to read it for the record. So this is the Elliott Nelson boundary location, seeking your approval on the use of the exemption. The basis for the exemption request, surveyor's note, the obligations for first right of purchase by the adjoining landowner is the reason for the use of the exemption, and it's signed by Bernadette Swenson, PLS. So I know this morning I told you that only one boundary location was going on the agenda, and I grabbed the wrong one of the Nelson. So the Nelson McCullough boundary location, if you could maybe revoke your approval on that, because that one is not moving forward.
Okay.
But the Elliott Nelson boundary location is the one seeking to move forward.
Mr. Chairman, there should be a revote of the motion so that that is made clear.
Okay, so both of these were on the agenda and were available for everybody to view. So first, let's go ahead and revoke the first approval of the McCullough Nelson boundary location.
I'll make the motion to revoke the Joe Nelson, Steve McCullough boundary location.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded to revoke the Nelson McCullough boundary location. Is there any public discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. All right, so the new boundary location is the Nelson Elliott boundary location. And the note is the obligations for first right of purchase by the adjoining landowner signed by Bernadette Swanson.
I'll make the motion to approve the Elliott Nelson boundary relocation.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to approve the Nelson Elliott boundary relocation. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anything else?
I have nothing.
Anything more, Laura?
No,
Okay.
not at this time.
Okay, we're adjourned at 10:45.